Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Stacking Benjamins Live. I'm Joe Saul-Sehy, Average Joe Money on Twitter, and co-host and creator of the Stacking Benjamins podcast. I'm super excited about this Facebook Live. You know, now that we have Money with Friends, and I feel like we're on here all the time doing headlines, we don't do as many of these. So I'm excited to do these. I'm also excited about the fact that we have also done, and I was going to record this, and I'm not recording it. So let's start recording it. I'm also excited about the fact that we're going to be doing these more also on Instagram in the future, on our YouTube channel in the future. So if you're not following us on Instagram, where Gertrude and I post, generally, here's how you know, by the way, who posts what on our Instagram account. If it has anything to do with money or the show or something responsible, that's Gertrude. If it's about board games, it's probably me. Just saying. That's the way we divide the duties. I get the fun stuff and Gertrude gets the rest. And actually the money nerd stuff I think is really fun too. Obviously. Hey, Ron. Glad you could be with us. Guys, in just a second, I'm going to bring on our guest, my friend Belinda, and I'm super excited to be talking to her, not just about the course, but to answer your money questions. I know that a lot of people this time of year are looking to set up their budget and do things better. And we're both super geeked that we can help people do that, whether you take our course or not. A couple of announcements first. We're waiting for people to hang out with us. Number one, we are coming to New York City next Tuesday. That is Tuesday the 28th. And if you didn't listen to today's podcast yet, you know what? You won't know this. OG's coming too. Despite the fact that I didn't tell him about it and I tried to hide it from him, he found out. And now he's coming to New York also. So if you want New York, if you want to see OG and I in the same room without fighting because there's other people present, you've got us there. Plus, our friend Bobby Rebell will be with us from Money with Friends. So you've got a lot of the crew. Doug won't be there, unfortunately. But I thought, I'm looking over here because I got a bunch of books from former people, guests that have been on the show. So we're going to give away some of those. We're also going to, we're going to talk a little bit about behind the scenes about some of the fun stuff. So, and then we're just going to hang out. So if you want to hang out with a bunch of like-minded people, come to New York City on the 28th, and more coming up on that on the show later in the week and early next week. And also, in the Stacker, our newsletter, where you might have heard about this. And also this morning saw my favorite movies of last year. So those are a few things going on. What else do we got that I wanted to talk about? We had one more thing. This course, and I want to make sure I say this here at the beginning, the course closes on Friday. So if you're looking for the opportunity to get your money going the way it should be going, you want to take advantage of that by Friday. This is not going to be like courses we had in the past where they're just constantly open. And Belinda and I will talk about why that is. But I'm going to put the link up on the screen. Taking our Making Money Easy course, stackingbenjamins.com/easy. You want to do that soon. You know what, Ron? You're talking about an Atlanta visit. I would love to come to Atlanta. We don't have a trip planned now, but I will tell you that there is something I can't talk about that might involve Atlanta. How about that? Well, maybe I can talk about it. We're talking about maybe doing another comedy club tour. And we're looking for sponsorship of that. We're also looking for time to do that because I don't know when the one we did last year, about 14 months ago, was fantastic and brutal. It was fun being in all these comedy clubs, seeing so many people and putting on live shows. But man, did that take a lot more work than we thought. All right, you guys ready for the main event? Let's talk about making money easy. Super excited to have with me today my good friend and my conspirator making this thing. Actually, we're just gleaning everything we can from her expertise. Belinda Rosenblum's here. How are you?
I am awesome. It's so exciting to make this happen, to be really like here up close and personal doing it.
And as I said on Friday on the podcast, you didn't think we were going to get this done, did you? Be honest.
So to take you guys behind the scenes a little bit, Joe and I talked about this a while ago, and we're like, can we make it happen? How can we come together to collaborate to make it? And we both have a lot happening in our businesses, and then all of a sudden it started to roll and it started to pick up speed, and kind of like a snowball in a good way. We were like, this is actually going to happen for this January, and you all are here and witnessing it live. And Joe and I have a lot of fun, so you can be sure that we made sure that this is a program that lightens up the whole topic of money. So I'm so excited to be here with you, Joe.
Yeah, Belinda and I back in August, I said, when I get back from the Canadian Rockies, we're gonna go. And we did, man. We spent a lot of time together to make sure that this rolled. Now, that being said, and I don't want to talk a lot about the course up front. What I really want to do, guys, is talk about making money easy. Let's talk about the reasons why people don't have their financial act together. And I want to do that in a second. But before we do that, I do want to talk about, this isn't, by the way, a brand new course. This is taking something you've been doing since, I think, 2012, Belinda, and changing it to make it a little more basement-y for us. And so it kind of fits us. And I mean, this is not something new. This is play tested. You've seen a lot of people. It's worked for. Pretty exciting stuff there.
Yeah, we've had hundreds of people go through, maybe even thousands by this point. This was one of the first programs that we developed when we really started to see a need for people to have a system to follow, right? So I started this business back in 2007, right before everything started crashing. I was the one that was literally on the 5 o'clock news in Boston talking about how people could better manage their money and their financial stress. And I just started to see this opportunity in the online course space, even back then. And this was one of those courses that I said, people just need to be able to figure out their money, right? There's nobody really talking about it besides like a tip here and a tip here. And so that's when we created this. And then just a few years ago, I was on your podcast, and we had some of your listeners back then decided to take the course with us, got great results. And then you chimed in, to me, and you said, hey, we're getting such great results from our listeners. How can we bring this to more of the listeners? And then that really started the extended conversation about partnering up to bring it to you now. And here we are.
And I'm so excited. This is going to be a lot of fun. All right, guys. Here's what Belinda and I want to do today, regardless of whether you take our course or not. We want to help you make this easier. So I thought a great topic for today would be this: where do people get derailed with their money, especially when you're starting out? But not just that. I met with people, Belinda, who were in their 50s and 60s back when I was a financial planner, and they were trying to do the same crap that they were trying to do when they were in their 20s. And namely, get out of basic credit card debt, right? Get an emergency fund in place, build a solid foundation. And now they're in their 50s and they're like, hey, if I don't get this done soon, I'm in big trouble. And in lots of cases, they knew that they were in trouble 15 years earlier, but they had never gotten there. So I thought we'd walk through some of these stumbling blocks. The first one that I saw, and I don't know if this is the first one that you usually see, was always this: if I don't look at it, maybe it'll just get better on its own, which for you, this was a little bit the case. You were helping people with their money professionally, but you had a stack of stuff that you didn't want to look at home for your family.
Yeah. So this one comes, it's close to the heart for sure. And, I think that it's just one of the biggest things. It's like we operate in this world where money is everywhere, except it's that we never really learned how to do it effectively. And so because we never learned it, we just try and pull a tip here and pull a tip here, but we just never really get the step-by-step that we need to figure it out. And so what do? We feel a lot of judgment and shame and frustration and confusion and all these things. And so if you have something in your life that causes you, reality check for everybody, you have something in your life that causes you confusion, frustration, and overwhelm. Are you going to want to go near it, or are you going to want to stay as far away from it as you can? Well, you're just going to keep avoiding it. And then it's this downward spiral that doesn't ever help you make any progress. And so this is absolutely something that derails you, because once you get stuck in it, it's hard to pull yourself out of it, right? Because you've been doing the best you knew how to do.
Yeah.
And it can be hard to figure out who you can trust, who you should listen to, and how do I, wave the white flag and get some help without feeling like, someone's going to judge me. I don't know who to ask about it, and to just feel worse about it. So people just stay stuck in the avoiding. And I was absolutely in that same situation. And honestly, I was 28 at the time. I became family CFO after my dad had a stroke, and I had no idea what I was doing, FYI. Even though I had an accounting background, personal finance is so different that I just ended up feeling really stuck and stressed from it. And I had to create my own system and my own approach. And then that has evolved into this exact making money easy 4-step system.
I think in this area, especially, and by the way, guys, if you've got questions for us, this is a conversation that we are happy to derail at any time. So feel free.
We'd love to answer your questions as well as
feel free to ask every single one, but we do have an agenda if you don't, which I think is very helpful. But here's what I found. We talk sometimes on the show, Belinda, to decluttering experts, right? To people that talk to hoarders. And I think to some degree, some of the advice that they give hoarders is the same advice you have to do. You have to follow if you're not looking at it, which is don't try to tackle it all right at one time. Don't try to tackle the whole, because your brain can't get around that. Like it's when I met people that would freak out about investments. Oh my God, which investment do I choose? There's so many different choices. Don't focus on them all. Focus on your goal first. Focus on this one little thing. So much like a decluttering expert will tell you not to try to clean the whole house, they will pick up one thing. I'm going to pick up my to-do list here. They pick up one thing and say, what are we going to do about this? And then they figure out what to do with that. And then they pick up the next thing. And I think to some degree, that's kind of what you have to do, isn't it?
Yeah. So what happens is that's part of where the overwhelm comes from, right? Because you feel like, oh, I'm just going to try and address everything all at the same time. And so part of what we're looking to do is to give you a step-by-step approach without having you feel like I have to make all of the changes right away. And a lot of times it's also about understanding what are the key things that I need to focus on. Because a lot of why budgets don't work, why they're kind of like diets, and why sometimes diets don't work if you try and keep so much of a strict perception of it, is that it's often not all of the items that are derailing you. It's often a handful of items, but we have to go through the process to take care of all the rest of the items and then know what we need to focus on a regular basis. And then, it becomes more like a paint by numbers than like this, Mona Lisa that you're trying to create.
Well, and a paint by numbers is not only easier, but it's a great place to start because you can learn from the masters, right, who have already drawn the lines. Mm-hmm. And you can learn to draw inside those lines to know what's important before you try to just recreate the wheel and do everything yourself. I feel like sometimes, and that was another thing, by the way, we don't have this on here. Sometimes people are too much of a professor. They know too much stuff. Like forget, you know so many things, you read from so many different places that you think I got to implement all this stuff. You just can't do it.
Right. And then what happens is when you know so much, you suffer from almost like finance fatigue.
Right.
It's like you feel this perfectionist, like if I can't do all of it, I'm not going to do any of it. And so that also doesn't work, right? And that's not at all making money easy, which is what we're trying to have you take on as a new identity. And it just has you stress more. And you're like, well, if I can't, do this and then also do this and then also be great, with my partner and then have my 401k and then have all the things that people are just like throw their hands up and they just get resigned and they think like, oh, I guess this is just how it's going to be.
Right.
And that's certainly not serving you.
Which actually is going to be point 3. But before we get to that one, I've got another one, which is this. I just, for lack of a better term, Belinda, I called it pacing, because I feel like when I meet with people in the beginning, when I was a financial planner, and I see this with people, even, if somebody wants to take our course or whatever it might be, they go in like it's not even a 50-yard dash, not a 100-yard dash or a 50-yard dash, but like a 20-yard dash. And they run 20 yards as fast as they can. and then they're so exhausted, then they do nothing and they go have, donuts.
Right. They do what I call, they suffer from the it's only, right? So they think, oh, it's only $20. Oh, it's only this. Like, it doesn't really matter, and they just think like, oh, I'm just gonna, I couldn't sustain it. So they throw out the whole thing.
Yes.
Right. And why is it? Because they ran so fast. They tried to do so many things in such a short period of time that they frustrated the heck out of themselves. And then there's no sustainability to that.
And this goes back to not a diet. You talking about diets don't work. It has to be a lifestyle change.
Mm-hmm.
Really, in our course, and this is what I like about the course, just to talk about it for just a second, I like the fact that this is a sustainable lifestyle change. It is not. It's first of all changing the way that you think so that it's not a race. It is much more of a foundation that you're going to build your house on.
Mm-hmm. Right. And what's so cool is that it makes such a difference to change the foundation, right? That you've had. And we can get to Ron's question here in a second, that it's recognizing that just because you've been doing a certain thing for the past 10, 20, 30 years doesn't mean you have to keep it up, but we have to change the direction, even if it's ever so slightly. We have to correct and get you on the right path. And then it's so cool when we hear back from people like 2 years, 4 years, 6 years later, and someone is like, remember how I was working on paying off that debt? I paid off $45,000 and I retired early. And then she just signed up for our business owner course because she retired early from her job, debt-free, mortgage-free, all of those things, because she changed the lifestyle, right? And she took this new attitude, approach, and plan that she has been able to sustain to create a new life for herself. So it's really exciting.
It's funny you say that, because today on the podcast we have a woman named Rashawn Lee from Learn, Hustle, Grow, and Rashawn, it's funny, just a little peek behind the scenes at the podcast. Rashawn and I had a 45-minute interview. I think 30 minutes of it appears on the show, but even in 45 minutes, we didn't get to a lot of cool stuff with them. But a big point of what she did was she started off really slow. And I think I asked her even in the edited part of the interview, like 5 times. So then did you start saving? Like, no. We did this first. And she built this very solid foundation. And now today they have no debt. They own 4 rental properties, which are paid off and give them a good enough income that they don't have to work anymore because they have enough passive income to live off of. They went around the world last year, but they got started late, which also is cool, Belinda, because it also shows that even though it's easier to start sooner, I think a great thing about Rashawn is no matter what age you are, you can get this thing. You can get it done.
Oh, absolutely. And it could be because I'm nearing 50. Dare I say that a lot of our audience, they're not necessarily like right out of college. It was interesting actually when I started this business. I thought it would be more on the 25 to 35. I will say that it ends up being more people who recognize I never learned and I want to learn from someone that feels like a peer, someone that feels like a trusted advisor. And I think we both bring that, you and I, to the table in terms of something that, I'd want to hang out with them at a bar and I'd want to listen to everything they said around money and go do it. Right. And so I'm totally that friend that everybody calls. It's like when they're trying to figure out their money. And so instead it's just getting that we need to set up that foundation and there's some fundamentals that we need to start to move forward. And I love that like Ron is, renovating a smaller, more affordable home to form a better life. Like that's so important. And that's a choice that we made too, personally. Like I purchased a 2-family and then now we rent that out, and I renovated it. So I totally hear you, Ron. I kind of did some of that myself when I was looking to figure out like how could I manage my own money better, and it was leading a little bit of a leaner life and then setting myself up for success moving forward to be able to have some of the freedom around money that you're talking about with your guests too.
Ron and I have talked a lot online. I've never met Ron face to face. He's originally from Michigan. I know that, but Ron, but I do know Ron well enough to know that I thought this was an analogy, Ron, they were talking about, but then he's got a few other comments that shows it's not an analogy. But I like this idea of a smaller, more affordable home to form a better life. Like I thought that was an analogy. He's going to, set things up.
I took it for real. Yeah.
Yeah. On a smaller footprint, which also, even if it was an analogy, that'd be really cool. Just how do I set it up? Maybe a little smaller, but then I can really grow from that spot. Pretty exciting.
Yeah, and then you can keep it and you can rent it out, and then that helps fund the next place. And that's what I'm doing. Like, I guess theoretically, I don't really have to work and do this business. I could live off of the real estate income, but I love this. I wouldn't want to change it for anything else. So, yeah.
Next up is something you alluded to earlier. I see often people fall off the horse and don't get back on. Like, yeah, I tried that once and then I decided it wasn't for me. So I tried something else. Then I decided that wasn't for me. So then I tried something else and it wasn't for me. I think this, frankly, is where having people, surrounding yourself with people riding horses helps you the most when you fall off the horse, because everybody else riding horses is going to go get back on.
It's not an option not to.
Right.
But we make it an option not to when it comes to money. But like, that's kind of like drinking poison and expecting somebody else to die. It's like you're the one. Sorry if that's a little bit dramatic, but it's like you're the one that's not paying attention to your money. And the only person that's hurting is you. Right. And so it's just getting that this isn't something that you can just like check out of. Like, oh, I'm not going to do money.
Yeah.
Well, sure. You don't do money, you'll stay broke. Like, that's kind of how it works. But here's the thing. It can be so much easier than you've made it in the past. It's just that you never got back on the horse to find a solution that could work for you. And that's actually partly why we've included as much coaching and participation as we have with this course, because we're inside the Facebook group. I am, my husband is, he does a lot of coaching, and we talk a lot about couples because that's a place where people often fall off the horse and they just stop communicating about it. And we do I'm doing a live Q&A because I want people to be able to ask me their questions and to keep getting back on if they need to.
It's funny. I don't run as diligently as I did when I was in Texas. When I was in Texas, all my friends ran marathons. So I ran a bunch of marathons. I still run. I run often, but I can feel it. I'm not nearly as diligent as I was when I was surrounded by people. And Cheryl and I found a good running group that we run with, but they don't meet as often, and they're a little further away. And they're also not friends yet as much as just people that I run with from time to time. And finding that group, finding that the people that surround you, so it's more of a surround sound, I think it's super important. I mean,
it becomes a community. Like, it's something that's what we do, right? That's how we can all move forward together.
Yeah.
I think it's so true. And I think that we want to have a safe space to ask our questions, right? And to celebrate our wins. But oftentimes that can feel hard to do in a more public surrounding. And I think that it really does matter. I've certainly noticed that for me. I mean, I was on a swim team, in high school and college, and it made all the difference to have, if I had to get up at 6 a.m., I got up with another 30 people. I wouldn't have done it on my own.
Well, and it's funny that way, because the fact that, like, even for, my diet program, I'm working with this woman, Jessie, and I've never met Jessie face to face, but I'm always worried that I'm going to upset Jessie. Jessie texted me just before we started. Where's my phone? Just texted me and said, "Hey, I'm leaving tomorrow, and on this trip." And she's like, "Okay, you all packed and ready to go, but even more importantly, you got your plan for while you're away from home." I
love that. That's a sign of a great coach. She's holding you accountable.
It's so annoying. It is so annoying. And I hate it, and I love it. It is fantastic. Let's get on to the next one. Oh, by the way, Jamie's got a good thing here that says, yes, after divorce, I've not done money. I need to get back on it. And what I would say to Jamie is, Jamie's definitely done money, just not with, I mean, you're doing money no matter what, I mean, you are by not looking at it. There's still money moves forward or backward. And if you don't have a plan, somebody else has one. So it's always moving, but it's clear what Jamie's talking about, steering the ship.
Totally. But that's why I said some people think that they're not doing money, but basically it just means that they're not tracking it. Like she's not paying as much attention to it. And I totally get it, Jamie. And let this little innocuous Facebook Live that Joe and Belinda Rosenblum are doing, right, to be the wake-up call that says, yes, I really can do it. And yes, now is the time to go and make that happen.
I originally had on here, spouse doesn't care, but there's just like my running group, people around me don't care. This is a stumbling block for a lot of people, especially though if they have somebody that they're accountable for, like a spouse, that they go playing with. Spouse doesn't care about managing money better. You want something different. That how do you get around that, Belinda?
Well, the people around you don't care. That could be okay. Like it depends on who the people are. Yeah. Marilis, I agree 100%. It doesn't matter. Being surrounded by more disciplined people helps to get back on track way quicker for sure. And we forget that sometimes and we just keep operating alone and we can feel so alone with money. And there are some people that we might not need to enroll in our journey around money. But there are some very key people, particularly our partner and our children, oftentimes in the process. And it's not really an option to not talk with your partner around money if the two of you have any goals and if you plan on staying together. The visual that I have around couples that don't connect and talk with each other about money is that if you can imagine a bed and you have like, person one, partner, and you have this elephant in the middle with a big dollar sign on its belly. And it's just like, not just the elephant in the room, it's the elephant in the bedroom too, right? Like it absolutely can block your intimacy. It blocks your connection when you don't have a way to be able to connect with them around money. And so we actually just recently added an upgrade to our Making Money Easy program to be making money easy for couples. So if you're in a relationship or you want to be in a relationship, these extra 2 lessons that you get are actually led by me and my husband, who's also my business partner and my partner in life, to be able to really speak compassionately about the challenges that couples can face. And we give you conversation starters because it's not an option to not have them care if the two of you are doing life and doing money, need to be doing money together. There are other people in your life, like my sister has no idea what we do with money, and that's generally okay. I love this. So put up Ron's comment. It'll laugh.
Yes, Ron, you were laughing that you saw that.
Yeah.
We don't even need to talk about that one.
Joe is totally blushing. Yes, it will. So will we get more men signing up if I tell you that you'll have sex if you get your if you get your money handled? Because it's true. It's like, I mean, I have absolutely worked with couples where they're even sleeping in separate rooms, like one's in the bedroom and one's on the couch, because they so can't come together and they just butt heads and they fight about it. And I can absolutely assure you that if you're fighting about money, and this is a huge like division in your relationship, that it will block intimacy. Like, why would you want to be close with somebody if you're just fighting about this huge topic? I mean, this is why it's one of the biggest causes of divorce.
The a few things that I'll say from my days as a financial planner just are, don't preach to your partner, because that doesn't work. Don't demean, even if you think the question is dumb, do not demean the question, because you'll lose them, right? You will lose your partner immediately because they will shut down because they're like, nope, that's a dumb question. So if you come to money with an aptitude here, and mostly people that watch our videos, a lot of them are here, right? If the person you're talking to is here, don't keep pointing out the difference between the two of you, because I won't play Scrabble with Cheryl because she kicks my ass every single time. And so,
competition isn't always a great thing in relationships.
yeah, if we're going to have a discussion about money, I don't want to come in and completely destroy everything she thinks about money like she destroys me at Scrabble. I do not want to do that.
Yeah, and I will say, and tell me if you found this to be the case too, that a lot of times it's easier for, like, it might be the same thing that you've been saying to your partner for years, but when it comes from somebody else, somehow they can all of a sudden hear it.
Yeah.
You know,
and
so let me be the bad cop, so to speak, and teach them, even if it's the same thing. And you're like, yep, that's what I've been telling you for the last 15 years. But if they hear from me, then maybe they may want to do it.
That is very funny. I mean, my thought process is that this course is a great foundation. Mm-hmm. Later on, you may end up needing a full-fledged CFP that you're working with.
And it's an advisor side. Yeah.
Yeah. So coaching and foundation, get your money together, build savings, then maybe there's a financial advisor later. What's funny is that the reason I say that is because Cheryl will totally listen to our financial planner.
See? I think I know a financial planner, don't I? That's on this Facebook Live, as a matter of fact.
I do this all day. If our financial planner says it works. It is the truth. Which
sometimes, so be it. Like, let whatever they need to hear it. It could be like the best couple $100 you've ever spent in your marriage. To know that you're both on solid ground. And I will say from the couple side is that oftentimes we have one person. It could be either the man or the woman that takes the program. So sometimes, like, the husband could be really excited because he's an avid listener of your podcast and really loves this whole money thing, but maybe she's just disinterested. And I remember I did a workshop live once where it was the wife that was in the audience, and she came up to me afterwards and she said, ignorance was bliss until about an hour ago. Now it sucks because now she's like, I see what I've been doing to my partner. Like, he's trying to manage the money and I'm just out spending it, and I'm not willing to talk with him about it. Right. Yeah. And then once the two of them followed the steps that we teach in this program, he lost 20 pounds because he was so stressed about it. He would just eat all the time. And they started saving a ton more money because she would stop spending it like it was an endless well that she could always pull from.
Yeah.
It goes both ways. Other times the woman is the one who's paying more attention. He's spending because he doesn't want to look at it. And he's like, oh, I'm just making it. It's your job. And what I can tell you is if you take the couples one, even if just you do it, we empower you with tools to go and enroll the other person in the conversation. Like, we literally give you conversation starters to do that.
I want to be respectful of everybody's time. I want to spend the last about 15 minutes here specifically on the course and how it works. Mm-hmm. We've had a few people saying that they're signing up, Justin's signing up. But I want to go through some of the finer points. If you want details about the course, either go to stackingbenjamins.com/easy, read it there. You'll also see a video that we made while Belinda and I were recording the podcast. You can also go back to Friday's podcast, go to the middle of the show. You'll see her talking about it there. But some very quick questions I want to answer, Belinda. First of all, is this course is only open until Friday. I said that at the beginning of this. I want to emphasize that again. Let's talk about why that is, because there are some very good reasons why we decided that this is only going to open at certain times.
Mm-hmm. So in general, and I have actually tried it. I don't know if you and I talked about this, but over the last 6 years, I've tried to just make it a total DIY. Like, here you go, here's the whole thing. And then it hits the overwhelm button, number one, and it hits the pacing problem that you mentioned earlier, right? Where people are like, oh, I'm going to try and do everything all at once. And when it's so DIY, they don't follow through. And so what we've done instead is we've wanted to be more of a paced program so that it's like 4 steps and you're getting some each week for you to move through. We can be supporting you inside the Facebook group. Everybody in this cohort or this class is all doing it together. So there's something very helpful and empowering about that. And then we can all be on a Q&A together too. And then it doesn't just go from, basically become shelf help of, oh, this is something I should do. Right. No, I want this to be something that you actually do. But it's just like pulling off a Band-Aid. It hurts for like a second. And then once you get into it, it just can become it just like demystifies money for you. So, and then this way you're all doing it together.
And here's the thing that two things about that, guys. Number one is a question that often brings up for people is, does that mean I need to be there at set hours? The answer is no. You still can do it at your own pace, but you're going through it with a group of people week by week by week, so that if you have questions, if you have stuff that comes up, that you're all on the same page.
Totally agree. And I don't even think I told you this yet, so just a little FYI, but I got kind of creative over the weekend and I added a bonus that actually ends tomorrow. So enrollment closes Friday. That is correct. But I added one more little bonus. I hope you don't mind. It's a customized action plan. So what I did was I said, okay, what was something that would like be over the top awesome for people? And so if you fill out the tracking template, you send it in to us. We'll give you instructions to follow. I'll send you back where I feel like you need to be focusing on most. Right. And either confirm it or give you another option. Because I think sometimes people think, oh, if only an expert could look at my numbers. So if you're a fast action taker, that's what we're going to do for you.
The course, by the way, is also like we mentioned foundation before. The course is foundational. It starts with the foundation and builds on those. Let's briefly go through, and once again, if you want this in more detail, just go to the link stackingbenjamins.com/easy. But let's go basically what people get. Week one, Belinda, what should people expect?
Sure. So week one is called Find Your Money, because one of the biggest challenges that people have is they just sit there in this mystery of like, where did all my money go? Right. And so week one is the Find Your Money. And so what we've done is we've given you this really helpful tracking template that essentially helps you identify your unconscious spending, helps you see where we need to start to focus on, and starts to give you this real non-judgmental process for tracking. And you can use our spreadsheet. Otherwise, you can use an app or something like that. But step one is on finding your money. Can I just keep going through all 4 steps, Joe?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So then step 2 or week 2 is live within your means, enjoy your life, and build your cushion savings. So great. Now you know where your money has been going. How do you start to make some changes? And what are the changes that you want to be able to make? So step 2 is then helping you figure out like, okay, great. I have this information. Where do I go with it? Right? What do I do when my expenses exceed my income? What do I, why do I care about this? Like I agree with that idea of I'd rather have you spend less on the things you don't care about and spend more on the things that you do. So it's important that you identify what are those things that you do, and really what are the key money leaks in your life that are draining the money out. And so I tell you what the largest in general, like money leaks are, so that you know where to start looking right away to start to keep more of your money. And we have some extra templates and handouts along each of these steps. Like we give you our cheat sheet on 50 ways to live more on less. And I give you a handout to give you a step-by-step process to walk you through it all. And then 3 is why a plan beats a budget. So now that you have this information, now that you know where you should be focusing on, great, let's dive in. Let's get you started. So between week 2 and 3, you're making the changes. So this isn't something like I'm going to teach you and you're going to start to implement in week 6. No, I want you right now to be looking at it and then to be making the changes. So then I tell you exactly in week 3, what are those changes you need to be making? How do you go about doing them? What are the pitfalls and where people fall down with the typical budgeting? And then what can you instead like have questions at the ready that you need to ask yourself before you buy something else? How do you understand the return on investment conversation? When should you be using a credit card and when shouldn't you, right? What percentage of your income do you want to be saving? And so it's taking what was the tool to figure out where your money is going, and now instead transitioning it to become a plan for yourself, a spending plan and a savings plan at the same time. And then step 4 is really about creating systems that work all year long. So this gets to the sustainability that Joe and I were just speaking about, so that you understand how can I automate and what are all the things I can automate? How do I continue to make money from this program? What are the easy ways that I can make sure my bills are paid on time every month? How do I incorporate money dates? I even give you a step-by-step organizational system. Because it's not just the online stuff. We still have paper, usually at home. And so it's a matter of like, what do I do so that you don't end up under piles of paper piles of paper, like I did. And so we really go step by step to help you through it all. And some people are like, oh yeah, I have a money date on my calendar. What am I supposed to do during the money date? So we give you a checklist. What are you supposed to do during that date? Because we really want this to be that lifestyle change that will set you on a much better path moving forward with your money. Not just like a one-time hit, but something that then becomes a different way of life.
The cool thing here, guys, that week 4 stuff, the tactical stuff is for my brain, because I have this engineering kind of brain. Mm-hmm. That's my favorite week. But if you don't have the first 3 weeks in front of it, all that stuff is built on sand. And even though you've got these tactics, you don't have the changes you haven't looked for and found. You haven't, you really, I like the fact that we cap it off with systems, mm-hmm. so that we don't run this 20-yard sprint.
Right. And then at the end of week 4, you feel stuck again, or something. Like, I want this to be something sustainable. And I almost call it the anti-budget. This is why I call it a plan instead, because it's about what are all the changes that I need to be making right up front. And then what are the key 3 to 5 areas that you need to be focusing on an ongoing basis. And if you can focus on those one by one, you'll be taking away the variability and the stress that's happening for you on a monthly basis.
A few things. Number one is we're discussing the map on the wall behind me. Beth, we have the critical conversations here. Beth, that as soon as we wrap this up in just a few minutes, I will answer that question. What's the map behind me all about? But but Kimberly asks, is this for absolute beginners, or how much knowledge do you need to know before taking the course? We made this a pretty wide swath, so that if you're an absolute beginner, there's no jargon in the course. I think over the last 8 years of honing the course, Belinda and Mark have done a great job of getting rid of the jargon and making sure that if there's any rough edges, those are taken out. On the other side, if you feel like you have a system and it's not working, then I think that this is also for you. No matter how much knowledge you have, it isn't about what you know. I would say it's about what you're doing.
Right. Like, knowledge is only potential power. It's not power until you do something with it. Right. And so especially, or, even, or especially those of us who are in finance and accounting, like, we know a ton, but then we just suffer from finance fatigue, and then we don't do anything about it. Right. So what it does is it's that idea that even in, if you know the 80-20 Pareto principle, you might know, possibly if you've been following Joe, if you understand some of this money conversation, you might know 80% of it. But the 20% that you never heard taught this way, or that you're not doing, could absolutely be causing the 80% of the variation and stress that you're feeling right now in your life with finances.
It's Kathy says that that should be taught in school. Man, that's a whole
nother Facebook Live that the two of us go on. Yeah,
more on that later, Kathy.
It's so true. I think sometimes that, like, we don't. It's how do I say this? It's like we're not close enough to it when we're in high school. We don't understand it. We don't have enough at stake. This is like why I thought I'd be teaching 25-year-olds money, because I was 35 at the time, and I was like, oh, let me teach them. So, they figure it out before they get stressed like I was, and they don't feel it. Right. It's now when we're like, oh, I really got to get this figured out. Now is when I want to see you take action.
And that's why you've seen that high school programs, the few places that have them, largely don't work. Like, the statistics are awful. And kids end up doing the same thing they were going to do anyway. By the way, something really cool, just and we'll keep the person nameless, but I thought this was pretty neat. Mm-hmm. If this isn't for you, something that is pretty cool. Belinda wrote me this. Somebody wrote and used this course as a gift for people in their family that needed it, which I thought was brilliant. You know what I mean? Once again, if you don't tell them about it, just say, hey, I enrolled you in this cool course.
Yeah. So I talked to him actually yesterday, because I was like, wait a second, why don't you talk to them first and make sure that they're interested in this? Yeah. And he was like, well, they both came to us separately, wanting help. Like they know that we're doing pretty good things with our money, but one is in debt and then the other one is about to get married and they don't want to screw it up. And so him and his wife purchased it for, one was a brother and his wife, and then the other one was the wife's sister and fiance, right? I just thought that was so awesome and so generous. And he's like, because, and I think somewhere, like, if they don't get it fixed now, because we have absolutely had parents buy it for their adult children, right? Because their adult children are still on the payroll because their adult children just never learned how. And there's no judgment or there's no shame coming from me. Like, I totally get it. Sure. And I want you to figure it out now. We just had somebody message us. She's 48 and she's like, I know that the only way I'm able to stay out of debt is because of the money that my parents are giving me every now and again. And I want to be free of that. So like, I was like, yes, we can help.
One of the best things I did for my kids was, and they're pretty financially savvy, I have to say, much more than I was at their age, was turn them on to other teachers. Instead of trying to teach them everything, turn them on to teachers I thought that would resonate with them, which was really cool. I want to address something else here too, which is this. If you follow me on Twitter, you know that I had a little rant about free over the weekend. This course isn't free. And while I like the fact, I love the fact that our podcast is free and the goal is to get you interested. I love the fact that we can do things that are free. Whenever anything is free, guys, you always have to ask, and you can ask it of me of the podcast, which is, so what's their MO if it's free? How are these people getting paid if it's free? And I also, by the way, took exception with bloggers who get paid, or heck, even podcasters who get paid through affiliate links where it's a hidden commission and they don't disclose it the way it says at the SEC they're supposed to disclose it, and they're getting paid all this money and everything is free. First of all, I don't want to play that game. But even more important than that, here's what I found when I was a financial planner. If you pay for something, you're much more likely to implement what you learned. And so what you'll see is this course. This course is not break the bank expensive. I think it's incredibly well priced for what you get. I think you're going to make the money back over and over and over and over. And we have we stand behind that. We have a guarantee about that. But even more than that, I've always found that if I put down money for a race, I'm more likely to train for it. If I put down any skin in the game towards something, I'm going to be an active participant. And for this to work, you have to be an active participant. So I will emphasize that because I don't know, this time of year, I see some free stuff around the internet, and I'm like, yeah, it's a bunch of crap nobody's going to do anything about.
Right. Well, think how many free challenges have you signed up for? How many, free, let me download this ebook, and then you don't ever read it because you don't have any skin in the game. Yeah. Like, of course you have the benefit of, oh yeah, I'll get my health in order. I'll get my food plan, whatever it is, but that's not enough. It's when we put down money that it commits us. And then I want that. Like, I want this to be the thing that you're like, well, it's reasonable enough that I can do it, but it's not so much that I'm going to feel like stressed about the investment, and we have a super reasonable payment plan, by the way, too. So
make it super easy. Try to make it super easy for people.
We should name it that, Joe.
To get past it. Yeah. If we could call it maybe making money easy, that would be, why didn't we name it that? Oh, wait a minute.
We did.
So on that happy note, that's that. But seriously, the big thing that you said that I really want to emphasize also is this word. I had to learn a script for something I got hired to do recently, which is intimidating, by the way. Me reading off a script is very difficult. But there was this word commit. And it's funny because my coach was telling me for this project he's like, okay, you want to kind of gloss over the word commit because people have trouble committing. But in the case of you're in my project right here, Belinda, I don't want to gloss over the word commit. Done this over and over before. It's time to commit. And if you're ready to commit, then go join our course. If you're not ready to commit, then please don't.
Right. And stay stressed, stay under saving, stay broke, stay challenged. And
Yes.
and it's not like there's any judgment from us. We just want to see you be happy, healthy, successful individuals in the world. And it's really hard to do that when you walk around with a sense of scarcity or this like poverty approach to money. And when you don't know where your money is going, when you don't have a plan for your future, that can naturally become your default. And we have a much bigger vision of what could be possible for you when you do get your money handled. And so we've given you an easy solution to make that happen with us.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I'm very excited that we were able to. I was very excited. Belinda said yes when we asked if she'd partner with us, and her super hilarious and awesome husband Mark, who's always in the background. But that guy is absolutely perfect.
You had to say something, didn't you?
I had to, yes, because
he's in the background.
he was fine until he was wearing that Wisconsin crap. What's that Wisconsin crap all about, Mark? Come on.
It was the best I had to match her red. I mean, she looks so good in red, and if I wore a different color, it would be a distraction. So I gotta have her back. It's all about being a relationship, Joe. Come on.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
And Joe turned red just to be in line with us.
I did. Now we're all red. Look at how red we all are. There it is.
Thank you, Larry.
Rosie, this is for a course, and we're going to say goodbye to everybody. Rosie, this is going to stay up on Facebook. You can watch the whole thing again, which is cool. We will leave this here so you can watch the whole thing. Marillis, I totally agree with you. Paying for a gym and Coursera, left to my own, I just stay weak and dumb. Yes. Ron, easy with that language. I would rather see Mark's Badger stuff all day long than that stuff that you posted. That's not going up on the screen, Ron. It's not going up on my screen. Can't make me do it.
That's awesome. And if anyone has any questions, we do have a purple chat box on the bottom right-hand corner. So you can always just click on that. And then our team is standing by to support you and help you make the right decision for yourself. So we're here.
Don't boo me, Ron. I don't care. You can boo me all day. I really don't care. So a couple more things. Number one is, once again, we are coming to New York. We'll be joining Bobby Rebell, my co-host on Money with Friends. OG is coming too. So you'll get OG and I and Bobby. We're going to talk a little bit behind the scenes. We'll give away some books from recent guests on the show. So if you're in the Manhattan, New York area, not Manhattan, Kansas, we'll come to you one day, but this is Manhattan, New York. If you're close to New York City, we'd love to see you next Tuesday. I'll have details at the Stacker. So just like you read about this on the Stacker, if you haven't signed up for the Stacker, it's stackingbenjamins.com/Stacker. Last thing that I promised we do is we would talk about this, and I'm going to just minimize Belinda for just a second so people can see the whole thing. Whoops, that's Belinda. There's me. So this thing, Belinda, I told you the story about this, didn't I? About this?
I can't. Oh, no. Well, I mean, I read it, but no.
No, about the map behind me. They asked about the map behind me. So this is it. So when I turned 50, I, at my birthday party in front of all of my friends, and of course we had a board game birthday party for my birthday. We had this is really cool, Belinda. We had a Ticket to Ride board game tournament, and everybody threw money in, and all the money went to a charity, except for, well, what was cool was we did like a 50-50 thing, but then the guy that won, gave his part to charity as well. So we raised money for a local charity. It was really neat. But my mom gave me this map, and this map says Joey Seahigh, Mrs. Berglund's third grade. And I did this brilliant map behind me when I was in third grade. And I want to point out some interesting features of this map. First of all, North Carolina looks a little different. Doesn't quite look the same, but this is the way, guys, North Carolina should look. Just telling you ahead of time. This is the way it should. Also, West Virginia, I don't know if you know that. The world has a little too much Maryland. Love you, Maryland, but there's too much, not enough West Virginia. So if I ever run for public office, West Virginians, I gave you some coastline. You're welcome. So not only do you get the mountains, but you also get the coastline. And then New York, a little awkward there. But anyway, that's what the map is. The map is we used to have an old logo of ours behind us when we first moved here. This is still going to be something different later on. But for now, it's just Joe in third grade.
Mm. How much things change and how much they stay the same, huh? It's all good.
You've been wanting to say that for a long time, haven't you? Just hold on to that. Yes. Right, guys.
Awesome. I love it. And all we need is like, so we actually did an exhibit at a conference, and I put a big map, and it said something like, where in the world do you want your money to take you? And I think that traveling is actually a great lead in for people to be thinking about where they want to travel as a part of learning from you. So I'm on board. I think it's amazing. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, guys. On that note, we will see you again later. Thanks a ton for coming. By the way, if you want to check out the course, stackingbenjamins.com/easy. See you guys later. Bye-bye.
Thanks.